Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Good morning, everyone, and we are so excited. We have someone that's very special to me, and actually she was a radio producer. She's an entertainer. She actually was in a band.
Yeah.
And she grew up in Covington, Kentucky. She was born in Covington and actually grew up in Madisonville in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Got married to Charles McClure. Had 3 sons, David, Joseph, Michael, and Stephen Charles. And then in 1990, she and Charles got a divorce, and she was living on her own. She went back to school, got a business degree, and she can tell you all this. And then she became, later on, unfortunately, a cancer patient. Mm-hmm. And it's the story of her life, the story of why it's so difficult for her right now and a lot of other minorities to find donors. And the story today is to help us make it an awareness of why we need donors, especially in the African American community. And we have also with us today a wonderful gal named Tonja Dannie Moore, who's a community engagement representative for Be the Match, which operates the National Marrow Donor Program. And actually, she's in charge of this whole region, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, right, Indiana? Correct. And we want to welcome her to the show. And she's going to be talking about what Be the Match means. But I want to start with you, Tonja, if you don't mind, Dannie. We first met when?
Oh, wow.
It's scary, isn't it?
The years have passed so quickly.
Right.
I know maybe, what was it, 2000?
In 11 or 12?
11 or 12.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so vibrant, so fun, so crazy happy. And the cool thing is that she does so many different things, including sewing, right? And she was doing, Dannie, all my alterations there for a while.
Oh, even you still do it?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore. But she even made me an outfit to wear in a movie called Niemand. And it was back in the 1850s, so we had to find a pattern that would make me look like a schoolmarm, right?
That was fun.
So anyhow, when you had a pretty active life up until...
Much so. I was pretty active, and enjoying life.
And, when I met you, you thought you had some sort of a mold disease, didn't you?
Yes. I thought I was exposed to black mold.
Right.
Because it was found in my apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
So when did you start discovering it wasn't black mold?
Well, I'll tell you truthfully, I'm still not convinced that didn't trigger the cancer, the skin cancer. This type of lymphoma is a disorder in the blood. It's a cancer of the blood, and it triggers my skin.
So your skin breaks out.
Exactly, and you can see my hands are just really bad. It can do different things in different people.
Right.
I kind of speak on it as like it's a disease that whatever character comes out in from your blood, that's what it will do. Some people get it, and it stays internally, and it will affect an inner organ. Mine comes out in the skin.
Right. So each case, right, Dannie, is a little bit different, right?
Different. Like lupus.
Like
That's
lupus.
That's the way I kind of do it, like
I think,
lupus.
I think
lupus
so.
affects different people
That's
different ways.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So when did you two meet?
Actually, this is the first time I've personally met Danny. I spoke with her
She's a
over
little
the
cutie,
phone.
isn't
She's
she?
adorable.
She
I
is,
spoke
she
with her
is.
over the phone, and through my nurse, who was the person I'm talking with about the transplant.
Right.
And she gave me her name and her card, and
Right.
told me to contact her because she could help me do
Outreach and awareness.
Yes.
Right.
So that's the first time I've seen her.
I think your story is so poignant, but I have to share this part of her story with you, Danny, is I got to meet her children, and especially one that passed away from meningitis. Oh, no. And I went down and filmed him in Houston.
Yes.
And she was going through this
Yes.
the situation with, did you know then that you had
Well,
lymphoma?
I was actually diagnosed with the lymphoma in 2016. That's when I was admitted in the hospital.
Right.
And it had come all over my body. I have pictures. It was in my face. And there are some spots that are kind of in
Still
my face.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was getting worse and worse. And at this point, it was seeping.
Oh, wow.
This was very different for the doctors that I had talked with, and they had never seen a case like this.
So you're a strange case.
I am a strange
rare,
case.
Rare case.
Exactly, because I have other issues as far as my immune system.
Okay.
My immune system fights my body.
Right.
Fights, and any treatment that they're giving me, it's like water. I've been through 3 types of chemo.
Wow.
And it's like 5 hours of drinking water
Yeah.
because it kills it right away. Then I went through a Puva light, and the light is like it's a tanning booth,
Right.
and it helps to.
You're starting to look white now.
Yeah,
Actually,
it discolors
Really?
me
It's
really.
true.
Look
I
at
almost
this.
say complexion.
Look at this. This is just it discolors me all over.
I've noticed.
I
that.
had to laugh at my dermatologist. She was looking at me, and I have so many different colors. And she said, "What color are you? What
Do you
color
know
are you?"
Do you know what I love about you is your sense of humor.
Oh, God is good, and I've cried enough. Okay, so and then when I lost my middle son, and I'm sorry because I will get emotional
That's your baby.
because that was in 2017, so that's just 2 years now.
And she's
And,
gonna meet the gentleman that actually helped me film. His name is Gerald Blumenthal, and his wife has got kind of a rare disease too. And he's just the sweetest person in the whole world. And he adored her son.
Yes.
And so they're going to get to meet. And he actually had found a doctor for her in Houston to help her, one of the leading cancer doctors with rare diseases. And it was amazing how small the world is, right?
That's right.
And I think the most exciting thing actually about this is that my brother had leukemia, and his donor came from California because there were 7 of us, and none of us matched perfectly.
Right.
So the idea that your family members can give it to you is not necessarily true.
That's
No.
right.
Right?
It's only a 30% chance.
Wow. And that's amazing. But
is.
we're going to talk today not only about you, Tonja, but we're going to reach out and touch people and say, and this is going to be a quest for me. God gives us little projects.
Yes,
I
he
think
does.
you're my project. Don't ask me why, but you are.
This is a new journey.
It was really weird because I called her the other day, and she hadn't heard from me in a little while. And I check up on all my cancer patients because they all have different types of cancer. And she said, "God sent you to me today. I'm just getting ready to go into radiation." And I said, "Well, Tonja, you know how much I love you, and anything I can do to make it better." So then when she told me that she was having a tough time getting a donor match, I called my brother immediately, and he said the same thing that you guys were telling me, that it's very difficult because a lot of minorities don't necessarily have been educated enough to understand how not hard it is to do
Exactly.
it. Okay.
Exactly.
And what the process is. I remember getting the blood test to check out my DNA and everything to match my brother, and I was in Singapore when I did it. Hello. And it was
different
like,
world.
yeah, right. I was they called me on the phone, and I was actually holding a baby when they told me my brother had this type of cancer, that he was dying. And I was like, tears are just rolling down
Exactly,
my eyes. Today, my brother is almost 30 years in remission.
That's awesome.
He's doing so much for the Lord. He's doing so much for leukemia and lymphoma. And he's running marathons. He's done everything.
That's wonderful.
That is.
So I think I'm not sure if you've met David or not.
I haven't personally met him.
Well,
Oh,
he'd
over
like
the
to get
phone,
your
we talked.
autograph.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
told you to tell you
That's
that.
right.
Okay.
Over the phone.
So anyhow, but Danny, how long have you been doing what you do for community outreach?
I've been working with Be the Match as a community engagement representative going on 11 years come August.
Why this particular job? Why this?
You know, it's a part of what I want to do, giving back, and working with this nonprofit organization gives me a chance to pay it forward. And it's very humbling a position to be in a position to where I am and where I can connect people through saving lives.
Right.
That's wonderful.
And I think part of your job is, and you've sent me a lot of information, and seeing other minorities that are giving and what they look like and what they've been through is part of what your job is to show people that this isn't difficult.
Correct.
This is giving other people hope. It's
Yes.
paying it forward
Yes.
in a way that's not going to take your life away necessarily, right?
I tell them that because 9 times out of 10, people get our organization mixed up with organ and tissue. Outside of donating the kidney, anything donating organ and tissue is upon a death. With our organization, this is a living donation.
That's
You're just
right.
giving a small part of yourself to restore life to someone.
It's
You're
like kidneys.
You're giving someone
Right.
a second chance at life.
Right.
But this is a living donation.
Right. And it's not that hard to do, is it? They
No,
can be
no, it's
in
not.
another state, right?
Our organization is a national program, so we can. It doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, we'll have. I know there's like students like international students. When I go to colleges, they'll ask me if they can join, and I'll tell them, yes, you can, because we have donor centers everywhere
Right.
where we can locate the individual. Because, like a heart or a kidney, we have carriers. We would take your marrow or stem cells to wherever you're at.
That's right.
amazing.
That's the cool part about it. I mean, you don't have
The
to
donor
be
doesn't
there.
have to be there. We would
No.
transport. We have carriers all over the world, throughout the U.S.
Right.
that will take the marrow to wherever the patient's located.
Right.
Now, the cool thing is, after you have received the transplant, and if you are receptive to your donor, you're able to meet the person that donated.
It was like
So,
1 year after my brother had his donation that he got to meet it. They had a television program on it. They flew him in. They did before the one location, the manor, right on Oak Street. I can't think of what it is.
It was the Vernon Manor.
The Vernon Manor. They had a big party there for him.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
oh yeah, and they've been like brothers ever since.
Yes,
And
yes.
they've gone through a lot with their families. And I don't know if you know it or not, but my cousin is a heart plant recipient, and of a little girl. So I mean, I have a lot of people that have had transplants, and for the patient, it's not that hard either. But we're going to talk about that after the break.
Okay.
And we're going to take a short break, and we're with Tonja McCullar and Dannie Moore. And guess what? My stepfather's name was Moore. How about that?
So we might be related.
Yeah, you
somewhere
never
down the
know.
road.
You never know, right? You never know.
Ballerina.
Sometimes all it takes to be a dad
is remembering how to be a kid again. Take time to be a dad today.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do. Yeah, but I don't know where to start.
That's why we're here. We're free, handsome,
I think we're breathtaking.
and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. I got this. Is that Bran? Colleges love extracurricular activities.
Chess really isn't my thing.
I got this. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Picking a college, man. You and us go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.
Fire and ice.
Those don't really go together.
Go to GetSchooled.com for more info.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
I am back with Tonja McCullar, and a cancer patient, a friend, an entertainer, a mom, a grandma. There's so many things that you've done, choir person. And one of our best friends is Pia Everson Price.
Yes.
Does she know what you're going through?
Yes, she does. Yeah.
We ought to put a benefit on. That's what we
Okay.
ought to do.
That would be good.
Through
That would really be
the
good.
organization.
Yep, we could.
and
We could.
we should get Linda Love,
Uh-huh.
Miss
Yeah,
Love,
yes, right.
and do a fashion show with her.
That would be great.
And Art, her brother is a very famous artist from here.
Okay.
I mean, his work gets thousands of dollars. I mean, he's that famous. And so I think it would be kind of cool to get her involved.
That would be great. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
she knows a lot of people. Her son is, I think, a detective in the police department now. And so, you know, I think the more people that know about it, the better off we are.
Yes.
So, Danny, I want to ask you some statistics on what's happening with this situation, and can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so although we have 13.5 million people in a registry, when you do the breakdown of race, unfortunately, minorities only make up 30%. When we do the breakdown of race within the minority community, African Americans alone only make up 7%. So they roughly only have adults roughly only have like a 20% chance of finding a donor. It's almost like finding a needle in a haystack, because your blood type's not a factor. It's your DNA makeup of how we connect patients and donors. So that's where we're having the issue here, because African Americans have such a small gene pool to pull from when we're trying to find donors for someone like Tonja.
Let me ask this question. Is it education, basically?
A lot of it is education. A lot of it's misconception. A lot of it is because I think a lot of people like ourselves, African Americans, reflect on things that happened in the history and things that have been passed down to generation to generation. There's been a lot of mistrust in the medical with minorities. So a lot of that is a big issue of just trying to dispel myths, conceptions, and just really try to educate the African American community on how easy it is to be a donor and give someone a second chance at life.
Okay, let me ask this question. What would one of the myths be?
Well, one of the myths is they're taking the bone.
Oh no!
Yes,
Really?
True.
I've
because
had people
that's what
because we say bone
Bone
marrow,
marrow.
so they
Think you're
think that
gonna
we're
get the
actually
bone.
removing a bone.
No,
Like
we're
they
not
want to give a
moving
part
any
of your
bones.
bone. So that is the
that's
number
right,
one
that's right.
misconception
Exactly.
That we're
they
taking a
think-
little bit of the
Part of the bone.
Yep,
Oh,
they're
wow.
going to take the bone.
First thing you think of, bone marrow.
So, but a lot of people don't understand is, in Tonja's case, she needs a bone marrow donor. But roughly about 76 to 80% of the time, donors donate in a peripheral blood stem cell method, which is basically almost like donating plasma. It's non-surgical,
That's
it's
blood.
outpatient.
Right.
So
Plasma.
yes.
Right.
So that is, peripheral blood stem cells is your blood forming cells. So 76, 80% of donors are able to donate that way. But it depends on the patient. Because some people say, oh, well, can I pick what donation process? No,
Right.
you cannot. So, but if you do bone marrow donation, another misconception too is people have seen 7 pounds, they've seen the medical show House, and they think that what's portrayed on TV, it what actually happens in real life. When a person donates bone marrow, they're actually put under anesthesia. So
Right.
you don't feel it or see it during the process.
That's
Less
right.
when you wake up, it's going to be some stiffness and soreness. But I think because they get mixed up with a spinal tap and a bone marrow biopsy, there is no anesthesia during that process.
Right.
But with the bone marrow donation, you do receive anesthesia.
And you're like going to sleep. It's kind of like
The Twilight type.
yeah, it's
of-
twilight.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I mean, for any real, even when you have a colonoscopy, we were talking
Exactly.
about that on the phone.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, when it first came out, I went, "Oh, sure, I'll do it. You don't need to give me anything." Second time, I did
Yeah,
Twilight.
that's right.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm not stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really like going to the dentist office. Think about it this way. Going to the dentist office and he gives you a little Twilight stuff, which I always do before I go to my
Absolutely,
dentist.
yeah.
And you're not actually feeling it while you're going through it, right? You might
That's
feel
correct.
a little prick, maybe.
You feel, well, I've been on the registry myself. Even though I work for the organization, I am, hopefully someone calls me one day to donate. But I try to tell people, yes, it's going to be discomfort. I met a woman who's done it. She said, Dan, it felt like I just fell down some steps, or I had like a really hard workout. I've met moms where the son was 3 years old and then the 5-year-old sibling donated to the 3-year-old. So I'm like, hey, if a kid can do it,
We can do it.
why?
Yes.
But then I laugh because people talk about the pain, but then I see tattoos and piercings. So I'm like,
Yeah, and that's the
where-
other thing that we, a lot. We talked about this on the phone. I was talking to a friend of mine who gives his blood regularly to the Red Cross. That's Lawrence Allen out of Dallas, Texas. And he said what he's been told is that so many of the young people have had so many tattoos, so many situations that they can't give. A lot of them. I'm saying a lot can. But it's important to know if they can have a tattoo on their body, right?
If they can experience that pain, that pain is nothing compared to being a donor.
Okay.
But then also, you did a tattoo for what? Donating, you're restoring life. So you're
That's
giving
right.
someone a second chance at life.
That's right. And I see all these tattoos and I go, do you know what they're going to look like when you get older?
Exactly.
Anyhow, so that's all right. But what I'm going to say is, you're paying it forward. You're giving somebody, when you do that, you're giving somebody a chance to live a long life if possible.
You're restoring life
You're
back into
restoring.
them.
You're restoring life, and that to me is so important.
That is the greatest gift
Are
God could have
you
given us.
are you going into schools and talking? Are you going into grade schools?
Unfortunately, grade schools, no. I work with, you have to be at least 18 years of old to join the registry. So I deal with sometimes high school, but primarily in the colleges because our age recruitment is 18 to 44.
Right.
So colleges are like a gold mine for us. You have the age demographic and you have the diversity right there on campus.
Right. Have you gone to the wonderful Mount St. Joseph University?
Yes,
Have
ma'am.
you gone there?
I've gone to, I service north and south of Ohio and the entire state of Kentucky. So I have hit primarily every college here in this
11
region.
years? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
You've done it, girl. Right. You know, we also, we were talking about the military, and you have a division for that as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And that could be a donor for her too, couldn't it?
9 times out of 10, yes, they could. Yes.
Because wasn't your family in the military as well?
Yes. It's funny you said that. This past November, we have an event every year, and there was a gentleman that joined when he was in college, and he ended up being in the Army. And he's been out the Army, now he's a firefighter. Well, he was an African-American male. He ended up donating to a woman, and the ironic of the whole story was they lived in the same neighborhood and didn't know it.
Wow.
And she was in the nursing field, and her son was in the Marines, and here's this young man that was in the Army. So
I want to get this out because our Let's Just Talk show is getting ready to wrap up.
Yes.
And actually, we're doing a television show as well for Kathryn Raaker's World. So you're going to be able to see and listen to Let's Just Talk. So I'm just going to give my website out real quick. It's letsjusttalkradio.com. So you'll be able to hear it on that and everywhere. And if you've got an iPhone, you can download a free app.
Yes.
So give your website, please.
www.bethematch.org. I also want to give the listeners, if you are interested in joining, we do digital registration process. You can join at text to CURE 154 to 6174. Text CURE 154 to 6174. You can literally register from your smartphone and receive your DNA kit in the mail, and it's free of charge.
That's wild. That's great.
Great, yeah.
Getting your DNA tested is even better, right? And you know where you came from, right?
Yeah.
Actually. I just want to thank you, and we're going to help you with your cause.
And thank you,
Tonja.
Kathryn, for having
you
me.
You need to really tell your story in print. And that would be, or do an audio thing of your life for everyone and for yourself to see what you've accomplished in this whole time,
right.
And make it easier for people. And you're such a sweetheart. I mean, as
you.
far as getting someone giving and donating to you would be a real blessing.
Thank you, Kathryn.
I think so. And so that you could sing again,
I
right?
love you dearly.
I love you too. So anyhow, but I want you to all join us next week on Kathryn Raaker's Let's Just Talk. And we will... we'll be out in the community doing a lot of different things with the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society again. My brother used to run for it all the time, and his kids and everybody else. And I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning on Kathryn Raaker's Let's Just Talk. Don't forget to go to our website at letsjusttalkradio.com or go to KathrynRaakersWorld.com, and you can see our television show. Give your email, or not email, but your website out again. One more time.
www.bethematch.org.
bethematch.org. And you can see everything up on that as well, correct? Mm-hmm. And you can register. And we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time on Kathryn Raaker's World.